From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and view. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the little bell notification button. You get an update every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, we are just 4 days away from Saints football in the regular season. First thoughts on that real quick.
Well, look, it's a great feeling. It always is. Your life, my life, we live around the NFL calendar. And it's always fun. The build-up, first off, the gap between when the season ends to when it begins feels like forever. And then that build-up from training camp to preseason to finally the regular season. You get excitement. I mean, there is a genuine excitement because it kind of adds up more work for us, but it actually simplifies because we know exactly what we're doing every single day from here on out. And you got to love that process. At least I do. And it's always, I've never once taken for granted. Chaos. Exactly. I've never taken it for granted how we get to make a living doing this type of thing. So I am certainly very, very, very excited for a new season. Feel good about the team I cover because the vibe I get from the team I cover is certainly exuding a sense of confidence that I have not seen probably since 2019. It really was the last time I felt this organization have any sort of confidence to this level. So from there, they open with the Tennessee Titans, and this should be a really, really fun matchup because it's no pushover for either team, and there is some things, some game within the game stuff that we'll get into here that has me very curious about what's ahead.
Now, one of the biggest pieces going into this game is the impact of the new field general for the Saints, Derek Carr. Where do you think he can lead this team in this game?
Well, there is no other player I want to watch more than Derek Carr because I want to validate everything I saw in the training camp, in the offseason training camp, limited time in preseason, and in joint practices. And I don't want to believe that it was fool's gold. What I saw was a guy that felt ahead of the curve, was already seemed to be further along in terms of chemistry with his teammates and knowledge of the system, and had a really good camp, preseason, joint practice session. We spoke with him today. He exudes a very smooth, confident, competent vibe when he, talks about his team. But it's just a new challenge for him. I mean, this guy was with one organization, an organization he thought he was going to spend his entire career with, and it's all new now. It's a bigger life adjustment than you and I probably realize because we're just so used to a guy changes teams and moves on. So I think certainly he's handled that well. But what's really given everyone confidence is what he's done on the field and his presence in the locker room. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I think Derek Carr can lead this team back to the playoffs. And I actually think there are times when I watch that maybe I'm even selling him a little short because there are things that I've seen in previous camps from previous quarterbacks who are going to be in the Hall of Fame didn't always look the way it looked at times with Derek Carr. This camp, and this is his first year with the organization. I'm not by any means saying he's going to be like the guy that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. We all know who I'm talking about. But I do think there's a feeling within the organization that he's not just going to be the best quarterback in the NFC South and help them get back to the playoffs. They can really become a contender with Derek Carr. Hey, I want to see it, but I can't go all the way there until I start seeing it week in and week out, and we can finally get our first glimpses of it this week because it all changes in the regular season. Everything's game plan tailored. Everything it's just different from what you see in the preseason. It doesn't carry over. It's just a different set of rules, I guess you could say. It's a totally different approach to a regular season game. But I think Derek Carr's impact as a multiplier, a guy whose presence multiplies the output of everyone else around him, I think that's what they're banking on. And that's, frankly, if he doesn't be that guy, they're going to be a little bit disappointed. So I have always had tempered optimism, but I think inside the organization, they have greater optimism than even perhaps they're letting on. And they're letting on more than they've let on in years past.
Just a reminder to everybody out there that the last time the Titans faced the Saints quarterback was Trevor Siemian. So
yeah,
night and day difference at the quarterback position there. But let's talk about one of the weapons that's going to be taking the field for the black and gold. Michael Thomas's impact on the game maybe near as great as Derek Carr.
Well, there are a couple things, and I'm going to do this every week on Wednesday because I want to make Wednesday kind of our matchup pod.
Sure.
And X's and O's isn't always the funnest thing or the most fun thing to listen to. I get that, so I don't want to get it all X's and O's, but I do want to pick one section of matchup that I think is crucial, and it's not always going to be Michael Thomas, but I'm picking Michael Thomas this week because I went back and I rewatched, and if you watch Game Plan tonight on Fox 8, you'll see the film study that I did. The big question with Michael Thomas is how good of a player is he still? How close is he going to be to the guy that was setting records in 2019? That is important. But I think something that we're glossing over is, do opposing defenses still give him that 2019 respect after 3 years away? The answer, we'll find out. But from what we saw from the Super Bowl champs in their first preseason game, they still treated him like the 2019 version of Michael Thomas. Over. And you'll see tonight on the film study. There were three different plays on that first drive where they were doubling Michael Thomas, including Juwan Johnson's first catch where the underneath hold defender is going straight to Michael Thomas, turning his back completely to Juwan Johnson, who's running that little outside-in return route. Underneath, he gains 18 yards. So my point is, with an upgrading quarterback and upgrading weapons around Michael Thomas, if he is still getting the respect from opposing defenses and he's getting that kind of coverage, it really isn't going to – it's going to matter that he returns to a quality football player, but it's not going to have the same – if he's still getting that kind of attention, team-wise – it's going to open up things for everyone else. Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, who I think is going to have a monster year. Rashid Shaheed, who we haven't seen in a while, but it should be back. Eventually, Kamara, when he comes back. Other players, who am I missing? Jamal Williams. Jimmy Graham, who knows? Taysom Hill, who knows? So
many weapons.
The Michael Thomas storyline is very important because there's a genuine curiosity in terms of where he's at and his recovery, health, and back to football shape. And I will tell you this, I said it on the show last night. I went to a practice last week where I wasn't looking for it. It caught my eye because I kind of just did a double take because every single time I had seen Michael Thomas throughout practice, while it looked like he was getting better, inching closer, there was still a slight just hitch in his stride. You could tell when he took off and he planted or he made a cut. And I looked over on one of the routes on air, and it was a smooth stride right off the release. I was like, oh, that's different. That's different. That was much smoother than what I recall throughout the entirety of training camp and preseason. So there are two dueling factors that I guess you can call it complementary factors because you want to see Michael Thomas be the player he once was because if he is, he's going to be a beast and Derek Carr is going to find him. But also, is he? Even if he's not that guy, is he still getting the respect of defenses, which is going to open things up for everyone else? Probably one of the same. If he's still that guy, he's going to get the respect. But even if he's not that guy and he's still getting the respect, it would still have a lot of the same impact. So Michael Thomas is very important to this offense and just his whole where he is currently at. That, again, cannot be answered until the games start counting. And this is why it's so exciting because we can finally get some answers to all that we have been seeing.
Well, we know the answer to one of these questions I'm about to ask you. Jake Haener will not be starting for the first 6 games of the season, and not just because he's the third-string quarterback, but because he's been suspended for the first 6 games due to violating the NFL's PED policy. Sean, what do we make of this?
I don't know. It caught me completely off guard. Caught all of us completely off guard and the sports office. I don't know what to make of this because a rookie that seemed so well prepared, so comfortable, so further along. It struck me as odd that he would miss this, and he said he has no idea how it got into his body, how it his medication and supplements, which I'm sure he has checked with the league on, did not contain whatever banned substance it is. Again, we don't know exactly what it is. We just know it was some form of performance enhancer, or at least some kind of ingredient that can qualify as that.
Yeah.
But a hard lesson learned. I don't know what he put in his body that allowed that to show up, but a hard lesson learned that it's pretty cut and dry, too. If you test positive, you're getting those 6-game suspension, and he got it. I'll say this. He wasn't going to play unless there was a catastrophic situation or the first 6 games of the season, but you certainly would like your young rookie draft pick who had a very good preseason and training camp to be in that room when it gets real with game planning and meetings and talking to the veterans. So it's a setback for him personally. I don't think it's a great setback for the Saints. It's just it just caught us all off guard. Really came from out of left field.
And so moving back to looking at this weekend's game, we talked about just this excitement, the hype behind it. How much would a loss kind of hurt the Saints in that manner? It kind of bring them back down to earth. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, it's a good question, because as much as a loss would really sting, it wouldn't kill them. I said it's the stretch of September, not just one game. You can overcome one loss in September, but man, all the good vibes, all the positive vibes, the new quarterback, being at home, the upgrades at other spots. Gotta win this game, right? It's not a must win, but it would really just kind of cool things off.
Yeah.
I mean, it would really do what's happening with LSU right now. Really cool things off and stymie the offseason momentum. They had a lot of it, and the Saints certainly have had a lot of it as well. So it would not be the end-all, be-all, and they're not going to treat it as such. But we did a pod on Monday talking about how important it is to survive September. So, man, do whatever you got to do to get a victory. I would hate to see all that good vibe, because we have been pumping it up. I have been pumping it up because I don't speak of things that I don't see or feel, because I'm a observing kind of guy. I'm not the guy that's out there, chit chat. People may think I'm quiet out there because I am observing everything, and that's what I feel. So yes, I would hate to see the momentum all of a sudden get stalled after 1 week. Should they lose this game to Tennessee. But there is always that unknown factor. And like we talked about on Monday, there's always that you don't quite know everything. There's always that fact-finding mission, that figuring out process, that identity-forming process that takes place for every team. And the good ones figure out a way to survive that and still come away with a W. So, yeah, I as much as mathematically it does not, I would just hate to see them all of a sudden cool off right away after 1 week.
And, the Saints do have a couple of new pieces since the last time the Titans saw them, but who the Saints didn't see the last time they played the Titans? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has never played against the Saints in his career. The one NFL team he hasn't done so against. How do you feel about the Saints defense being able to contain Derrick Henry? I know we heard from Colin Saunders.
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think they've upgraded the defensive line. Again, that was preseason. Does it carry over into regular season? Because does that translate? Because we were all pleasantly surprised with the development of the defensive line, but I have seen things look great in preseason that don't look great once the regular season begins. You just don't want that to be the fool's gold, because that upgrade can really mean a lot.
Talk about getting thrown into the fire with that matchup.
Yeah, so they've upgraded at defensive tackle. Peyton Turner, in particular, seems a little bit better against the run as he used to be, or as he once was. Carl Granderson, I've always felt, was a little more well-rounded, especially against the run. But that's the matchup. I mean, if you're the Saints, you don't let anyone else beat you. You don't let him beat you. Let anyone else beat you. Because, come on, you have to stop Derrick Henry first and foremost, because everything comes off that. The play-action game with Ryan Tannehill. They got DeAndre Hopkins now. They got Marshawn Lattimore, and him's going to be interesting. They got Tajay Spears. I'm sure they can play something off that. So that's it. Derrick Henry versus Saints defensive line is it, and their linebackers, their front seven. that's it. So if you're on the Saints defense, I mean that there is no other clearer top objective than stopping Derrick Henry.
Hey, we'll touch base one more time before we get to the actual game day. But at this midway point through the week, any final thoughts heading into week 1 of the regular season?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with the Kendre Miller DNP, did not practice. That certainly impacts the running back room. I'm a little bit curious as to how the Titans receivers, they got Hopkins, they've got Treylon Burks against, who's going to be the guy Alontae Taylor has to take on one-on-one. That's interesting to watch. Look, we'll find out Sunday the actual game plan, but I'm excited and ready to go. And then on Friday, we'll pod again. We'll have a little bit different, a little kind of updated feel in terms of where they're at from a roster standpoint, from injuries, and who could they be calling up. Because if Kendre Miller's out, they're going to have to maybe call up one of those guys they signed to the practice squad. And I'm also curious to see if they bring up Jalen Smith. So, yeah, all those things will get answered soon enough. But I'm ready to get this thing rolling. I don't know about you.
I'm definitely ready to get it rolling.
Yep.
We like I said before, we're just 4 days away.
Yep.
And we're going to get back with you guys when we're 2 days away.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the Fox at Overtime podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. For Sean Fazan, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys next time.